very good evening, everyone. Welcome to ULTV Study Abroad 101. IELTS test anxiety is one of the most common things that international students experience before a test, and especially the IELTS fund. There have been a lot of questions posted about it on our Facebook and Telegram communities. So, here we are. We'll try to address all your concerns around international English language testing systems. That's IELTS. We have Neha Sharma with us, IELTS trainer at Uniexpert Limited, with an experience in education for past 10 years, an alumni in the UK. Welcome, Neha, on ULTV Study Abroad 101.
Good evening, Shefali.
Hi. So, Neha, you yourself, an alumni in the UK. You must have given IELTS. So, what was the story? How IELTS was there back then? Many things have changed now.
Yeah, it has been changed over the period of time. It's more than a decade when I appeared for my IELTS, and at that time I was a student. So, as every normal mentality, I was very much scared that time. But now I'm working as an IELTS trainer, so I can differentiate the things. It's not the thing which we have to be scared of, and it's just a normal test there. It is designed to help us, or whether we are capable of going abroad or not. Actually, the students who are appearing for IELTS, they are traveling for work or study or migrating to a country where English is the native language. So the main purpose of giving IELTS is just to check our capability, whether we are able to understand their language or not. If we're not capable of understanding the English, then there is no point going or migrating to abroad, because you won't be able to communicate with the native people over there, and you won't be able to do your study or work there. So
Right.
to overcome all these things, the student should appear for the IELTS, and it's not a scary thing. It's just a normal test.
Yeah, like every good counselor and teacher, Neha just mentioned that you should not be scared, but we all know that students are scared. So, we'll go dive into more further into that conversation. I would like to understand. You have already partially answered this question, that who should take IELTS? Like, is it open for everyone, or is it specific to few people who has a particular interest or something?
As I said earlier, that if you're looking, if a person is going abroad to work, live, or study, like in an English speaking country, especially, then they must demonstrate their high level of English language ability, right? Whether they are able to understand the things or not, because English is the third most spoken language in the world, and over 379 million people, speakers worldwide. So being able to communicate with in the native language of that country, or where you want to work or study, it's easy. It's mandatory for a person to know English, so to get the job opportunities and to understand things. And mostly the persons who are migrating to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, or UK, where the English speakers are more as compared to other countries. Uh, there, the IELTS is the person should take IELTS instead of other any English language test speakers.
Yeah, now I'll come back to this question that you mentioned, that somebody should take IELTS over other examinations. It is said that IELTS is a little more difficult than TOEFL and other exams which are available in the market as of now. Why I should go for IELTS only? Why shouldn't I go for somebody else? What makes IELTS so distinguished among this whole crowd?
Uh, like to be honest, that IELTS is acceptable overseas. I said earlier, that UK, Canada, New Zealand, and many more countries are accepting IELTS. Whereas TOEFL is mainly for the American institutions, and the people, they don't accept any other. The institutions prefer to have the TOEFL instead of IELTS. Whereas in rest of the world, the IELTS is the one thing which is acceptable. And
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, please continue. Please continue.
so they are I think TOEFL is more difficult than IELTS. I can't say exact comparing, but what I have observed over the period of time, students are more comfortable in giving the IELTS instead of TOEFL.
Okay, great, great. So yeah, many institutes, in fact, IELTS has been into the entrance exam history for a longer period than TOEFL and other exams, and still many institution in many country prefer IELTS score over other examinations. So very well said. Now, who's eligible for these IELTS exam? Is there any eligibility criteria for these examinations?
Like for IELTS, the person should be over the age of 16, and there is no upper limit for the examination. IELTS is open for to all, and there is no discrimination between age group, gender, or race or nationality. It's open for all.
Okay, so it's not necessary that I should have a master's or graduation degree or
No,
something, or
no.
12th or 10th,
You should be
anything.
over. You should be over the age of 16.
Age is the eligibility criteria, what I understand.
Yes.
Great. What is the cost of IELTS examination?
Nowadays, like when I appeared for my IELTS, there was only one paper-based exam. But nowadays, they have created three different things. Like we have computer-delivered IELTS, we have paper-based IELTS, and IELTS for UKVI, which is especially for UK. And for tell you the price, it cost around 14,700 rupees for computer based and paper based. Whereas for UKBI, the person has to pay a bit more. It's around 15,100, which they have to pay.
Okay,
And within 13 days, they get their result. Whereas for computer based, within a week, they get their result.
so results are quite quick here.
Yes.
So I think it's more scary for the students. Now let's come and address the scary part of it. So how, look, I want to give IELTS. From when should I start preparing? What is the timeline? What should be my schedule to prepare it?
There is no timeline for preparing for IELTS. As I said, it's not a difficult thing. The IELTS is totally a same thing which we have done in our 12th. Like people, we do, it has four modules: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. If I talk about listening, the person just has to listen what the native speakers are communicating. We just have to listen and answer the questions what they have asked. Whereas in reading, we used to do in a school, like we do to have a composition, and then we have to do the we have to find out the answers and all. That's what we have to do in a reading section. Whereas in speaking, is just one-to-one speaking. What I'm doing with you right now is just answering the question what the speaker is asking you. And whereas for writing, we just have to write the essay. And I tell you, there are two types of IELTS, one for academic and one for journal. And the difference between both are, if the person is planning to go abroad for a work visa, on a work visa, or they want to migrate to another country for on PR basis, they have to go for IELTS journal. Whereas if a person is going for academic, if they are going for an education purpose, then they have to go for academic. So there is no difference between the type of question and all. The only the listening and the speaking of both the sections are same. Whereas subject of matter of writing and reading sections are a bit different uh, for the IELTS journal and IELTS academic. So I think I answered your question.
Right, and I believe practice is something which is key to
Yeah,
all
there are few
to
things
the
which
success.
the student has to keep in the mind is take the practice test, understand the format first, and to be aware of the exam timing constant, because there is a time limit. The student has to finish the exam in between the times. Like they get 1 hour for listening, 1 hour for reading, 1 hour for writing, and they don't get extra time to transfer. Like in listening, they get extra time, like 40 minutes of listening and then 10 minutes to transfer their answers. Whereas in writing and reading, they don't get extra time. So the student should know, like they should know that they have to finish the task in between the time. They don't get extra time. And the other things that the person should be, I will say, active enough, or clever enough to understand the things. Like if I'm doing something, suppose I got a listening, I'm doing a listening task and I got a 1 to 10 questions, I should be clever enough to go through the questions in few seconds, so that if the I don't miss anything while doing the task. And in writing, I will always say is use vocabulary, concentrate the more and more the person read newspapers or magazines, they get their vocabulary, good vocabulary. And always don't like in listening and reading, don't try to memorize the things, like what the person has said I have to memorize. It's not like this, you have to memorize everything. It's just you have to concentrate on your questions and then answer it. And the wide range of reading skills, the more they read, the more they I tell my students to watch English movies or BBC news or something, so they know their, because their pronunciation is different from Indians. Like they have different accents, so we have to practice the things of different accents, like Chinese and Japanese or Britishers. They have their different accents, so students should be familiar with all the accents.
True, Sid. And if you guys remember, who was always watching us, our parents, our teacher has always asked to read the newspaper, to listen to the news and write also if you want to write fast. These things have not just been developed over a gimmick. Of course, there is some logic behind it. And as Neha mentioned, that's the easiest way to prepare yourself for IELTS is to read more, to watch more movies. Movies are always great. Anybody would love to have it. Just watch movies when in English only, not translated to Hindi or some other language. So that's there. Now, there are new changes coming to IELTS exam. The new format has come. There's some news around it. So what are these new changes?
The only change which in basically in listening tasks which they have changed, earlier they used to run the example before they actually start the listening, but now they don't give the examples. So as soon as they sit for the exam, the as soon as they start the audio, the IELTS exam starts. So earlier the students, like whatever is available online, they have the example section over there, but the student should know that there will be no examples. The as soon as the recording starts, they have to concentrate on their like parts. Whereas the normal thing which they have changed, instead of section 1 2 3, they have put it part 1, part 2, part 3, and that's it. There is not much changes. It's only the in listening they have changed.
Mhm. So the example part is missing and rest is the
And the other
minute
thing,
vocabularies.
they have continuously increasing the cost as well.
I was about to come to that. I was about to come to that, which you already mentioned. Now, we have always heard that IELTS have different band. I want 6.5 band, I want 7, I want 8. What are these bands and how is score determined for IELTS exam? If you can just share the score determination part with respect to the bands.
Yeah, I tell you that the students who are going to Canada, the minimum, it doesn't matter whether you are going for masters or you're going for undergraduate, the minimum band requirement is 6 bands. So the student should have 6 bands, which is considered as a competent user. And whereas in other countries, every university have their own criteria. Like some universities require 6.57, 8.58. Whereas for graduate, I tell you the example of United Kingdom. If you're going for a master's down there, then the minimum requirement is 6.5. Whereas for graduate students, it's 6 bands. So the difference between them is, like, for 9 band, the person is considered as an expert user, whereas the person who is having 8 bands considered as a very good user, 7 band is a good user, 6 competent user, and and so on, like 5 for modest user, 4 for limited user, 3 for extremely limited user, and 2, the person need to get, like, they don't think about going abroad.
So they need to reappear after preparation.
Yeah, they need to reappear, but I haven't seen anyone who is preparing for IELTS scored 1 or 2 bands.
Got it. Understood. And is there a validity period for these scores?
Yes. The IELTS is valid for 2 years only. So the person has to reappear after 2 years if they don't get an opportunity to go travel abroad.
Okay, good. In your previous answer, you mentioned there are 4 parts of IELTS exam: listening, reading, speaking, and writing. Now, what is the, which particular part of the exam needs the most attention from a student perspective?
I will say it's writing, which needs attention because there are two parts. The student get two tasks in writing section: writing task one and writing task two. In writing, I'm talking about IELTS academic this time. So if the person is, because there is a difference between IELTS writing in academic and journal. I tell you about academic first. Writing task one in academic IELTS, the student has to describe the graph, diagram, chart, and any other arguments. They have to do the report writing. Whereas in writing task two, they have to write an essay of minimum of 250 words. And if I talk about IELTS journal, in writing task one, they have to write a letter. And in writing task two is same, they have to write the essay of 250 words. The more this section needs more practice because the students do like lots of mistake in this section. They think their English is very good, they can go, they can write a letter, they can write an essay, but they don't know the criteria which the examiner gonna check, that whether you have used your own words, whether you have paraphrased the question or not. You're not using the thing which IELTS gave you, like the statement which IELTS trainer or examiner has gave you. You're not using the exact words. Your grammar, like what sort of grammar you are using, and is there any mistake and spelling mistakes or all. So they check everything. Whereas a second most, I will say that reading section where the students lack, because it's too lengthy. And the most interesting part of academic IELTS reading is that the student will get the answers in a row. I tell you with the example. For example, if the person has been given a one page, and they have to find out the answers, five answers. So in section one, if the person in paragraph one, the question is the answer is there. So the person will get the answers in the following paragraphs. Like they don't have to search everywhere. It will be in a sequence. So it's easy to give IELTS reading in academic instead of journal, because in journal it's very confusing first of all, and it's hard to find the answers because every answer is matching with the question. So it's hard to decide like which answer is right or which is not. And that's it. There are common traps in listening which the student has to keep in mind while giving the IELTS and all.
Sorry, I'm on mute. Yeah, you mentioned IELTS Academic and IELTS General. So what is the difference? Who are the different users for both the IELTS exam?
As I mentioned earlier, that if the person is going for on a work permit or migrating to any other country on a PR basis, they have to give the IELTS journal. Whereas if the person is going for a further studies, they have to give the IELTS academic.
Okay, great, great. You have already shared few sources with the student, very basic and enjoyable sources like movies and others. But would you like to share other resources from where students can learn about IELTS exam?
There are lots of things are available online these days. Like the students can just go on YouTube and they find out the listening task over there, and there are links which they can check. Like in northern India, there are many IELTS faculties which they always like. They are active on Facebook and social media, so they can go through their details, what they are. The tips which they are giving and all. And I will tell the students that never ever memorize things, because the IELTS examiner will understand it's not your word. You are just dictating the things which you have read somewhere. Okay, and the thing, you should be clever enough to paraphrasing the things. You should have a sound vocabulary, so you can translate the things, you can use your own words for describing the things. And few tips I will say, that while doing the listening, listen to the questions carefully and then answer, because there will be a common traps for the students. And yeah, the person should like go through the headings, because sometimes in reading and listening, they just to confuse the students, they just mention down there. I don't, you haven't appeared for the IELTS, so you don't know about the
No, I
pattern and
haven't.
all.
I'm still scared
So
actually.
it's nothing to scare, because there are some questions like not more than, you give your answers not more than 2 words, or not more than 3 words. So usually the students start giving the answer in 1 word, or start giving the answer in 4 words, because they don't go through the question what exactly they are asking. Similarly, sometimes they ask the questions like give your answer in letters instead of words. So student, instead of writing the ABC, the student writes the full words. So these are the common things which the student should concentrate while preparing for IELTS. And always try to write your answers while doing listening and reading in capital letter only, so it be easy for you to, when you're going for an exam, it, you are in practice of writing in a capital letter, so it be easy to give the exam. The reason why I'm saying always write in capital letter, because sometimes you never know that what the examiner is asking. Sometimes they ask you like, for example, if they ask you Miss Neha Sharma, so instead of writing M small I double S or MS dot and all, to avoid all these kind of mistakes, just write MS Neha Sharma in capital letters. Let them decide what they want, what they were
So
looking for.
yeah, so I believe that it's a quick hack for the students, right? Great. And you mentioned it very well. It's actually the presence of mind which is important, whether it is any exam.
Yeah.
So even if you are at IELTS or any exam, if you're actually present in that moment, you'll be able to, do the quick changes here and there, and you'll be able to answer that correctly. Of course, if you're not going to pay attention and not read the question paper complete, whether it's IELTS or nursery or KG, it's going to be a little difficult for everyone.
Yes.
So correct, correct. So on this note, I think yeah, we have covered pretty much. Neha, would you like to share some other hacks like you just shared about the CAPS one?
I will say that the student should, while doing the writing, they should leave as much time as possible to plan out the really written, like written answers, or they should try. Is, as I said, is 60 minutes, and in 60 minutes the student has to do both the tasks, writing task one and writing task two. So what normally I suggest my students to appear like they get separate sheets for writing task one and writing task two. Always attempt writing task 2 before, because the total band, out of 9 bands they're gonna get marks. So for 6 bands they're gonna score writing task 2, and for 3 bands is writing task 1. So for writing task 2 they get only 40 minutes to complete it. So I tell my students to try to complete this paragraph in 35 minutes. So at least 5 minutes you have to go through the paragraph, whatever you have written. You can mark out your mistakes, you can check your grammar, you can check your vocabulary, you can check your tenses and all, everything is on place or not. And for writing task one, try to finish in 15 minutes instead of 20. So same, you have 5 minutes to check the things. And in writing, I say that you won't get extra time for transferring your answers. So the best thing is, once you're doing your writing, you start transferring your answers on the answer sheet. For listening, listening is the like easiest part, I will say, because the students mostly score good marks in listening. If the person is scoring 8.5 or 9 bands in listening, quite their overall bands will increase as well. And if I talk about speaking section, there are 3 parts of speaking. Part one, it normally consists of journal talk, like they ask you about yourself and about journal introduction. Whereas in part two, there is a cue card. The person will get a 1 minute to prepare, and they have to speak at least 2 minutes on that topic. And the third part is the follow up questions. Whatever they have cue card they have received, they have to like extended answers they have to give on part 3. And it's speaking is just of 15 minutes, not more than 15 minutes. And normally the people they just scared because they are someone is sitting in front of them and they have to speak. What they have to do, what they have to show them that they are confident enough, they know English, because they are not gonna meet that person again. So why they are scared of? And another thing, like the person who is like answering you the like asking you the questions, he don't know the answers by himself or herself, and they're just doing their duty, they're just doing the recording, and they just want to check whatever they have asked you whether you understand or not. If you're capable enough of understanding the things and answering the questions over there, then I don't think so there is any point that they will not give you good marks. So these are the things which I always tell my students to keep in mind. The This is not the end, okay? And there is no limit, as I said earlier, that you can give us as many times you want.
Right, right. And so students who are gonna watch this video later on, and if you guys are skipping, you're gonna miss a lot of content, which is at the end, a lot of hacks. So what I could understand, time management, persistency, presence of mind, and your confidence is the key for the IELTS score. Rest is all the conversation that you guys generally have with your friends. Correct? Great, great. Thank you so much, Neha. I believe our students must have enjoyed this insightful session, and especially the hacks that you gave to them. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that we join again together and we take this forward maybe in another session. So, guys, thank you for watching us. Keep tuned to our ULTV Study Abroad 101 series every Friday 5 p.m. and also our webinars are also coming. Keep coming. You can check University Living for that. Thank you so much, Neha. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. Thank you.